up, GERO 200. So what is today? Today is Tuesday, March 22nd. I'm going to do the video for economic preparation for retirement today. All right. So we've gone to full gauntlet of topics in this class. This is going to help you to begin to wrap your head around what it is why we have done CT2, which is doing some serious financial planning, where you're going to do some individual retirement accounts. You're also going to be looking at 401ks. Okay, so that's the whole point of that. But let's check this out. I'm going to, we have a bunch of how-tos that already exist in the CT2 for those of you guys that are really into it. And I'll spit out a video later on about that. Okay, let's go into our weekly assignment. All right, and check this out. Okay. And this week we go like a deeper dive where you start to wrap your head a little bit around the concept of is there enough finances in Social Security? Is it adequate? What about some of these outside expenses that sadly that we've talked a lot about these progressive non-communicable diseases of aging and these out-of-pocket expenses, and how you have to make a budget really in terms of thinking about the adequacy of your income. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing right in here. Okay. I just want to kind of reflect back in the previous week's assignment that we did, where we were looking really kind of globally here, and in particular, I tapped into this article about just kind of some case studies where we looked at people and how well they were doing in terms of retirement, and there were a couple of people that were doing well. And remember Mr. Roscoe here, Laguna Niguel, he had a good retirement package. He was still working at the, staying active, the YMCA, Laguna Niguel. But then we also, in that article, we highlighted a couple of case studies, women, okay, where a majority of their income was going towards rent, and they had very little left. And then you add on top of that out-of-pocket expenses for healthcare. It's a big deal. Okay, all right. And so and we kind of went through this concept of employment here. All right. So I just want to kind of remind you of that, and then we're just going to go back to our current week's chapter. Okay, so here we are right here. Okay, and again, at April 6th is when the CT2 is due, and we'll go over that and relate it back to our assignments. Okay. All right. So let's look at the economic preparation for aging. Now I'm going to say, first up, don't forget you always open your quiz right here, and then you open up a second browser, and you're going to go through the reading. All right. And as always, we have the PDF file, which is the one way of doing it, and then you can also go to the actual website right here. Okay, so this is a 2016 study, and then they reflect back on these giant cohorts where they sampled people. They look at 1992 and the 2004 cohort, and then they looked at them as they progressed up into the 2016 time point of the sample. Okay. And they were just comparing. So they were comparing the Great Generation really in terms of their retirement and baby boomers in terms of their retirement. Okay, and then we're gonna get into a little bit here about adequacy of Social Security and reflect back here in terms of these out-of-pocket expenses based on this study that was done by the Kaiser Family Foundation right here. Okay, all right. So I'll tell you straight up. While it's a full-on research study, and so it gives you a feel of percentiles in terms of, are you in the 10th percentile, the 50th percentile, 90th percentile, in terms of economic preparation, where people stand. It just kind of gives you a feeling, and we're going to go through this more later on. So there's a lot of research lingo in here. I just want you to just kind of focus on the figures, read through it as best you can, in a simple way, and One thing I don't like about this paper is it's long. You know, they go over lots of topics here. We're just focusing on number 3 here, and and they use a lot of acronyms, you know, and you just find yourself saying, well, what is that, you know, and you have to either go back in the article and find it, or what I do is I actually will I Google the acronyms, and I'll Google them and then do comma retirement, and then oh, you go, oh, okay, thanks. You know, all right, so that's what that's all about. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and open up this PDF file right now. That is the reading. It's called they use the HRS, or as an acronym, so all that stands for this study, which is the Health and Retirement Study. Okay, there's a gigantic social science based aging institute or aging research center at the University of Michigan, and so this is where this thing all comes from. Okay, and all right, so I'm gonna scroll down and find the table of contents here, and here it is. This is the one that we're looking at. So this is part 3. Okay, so that's what you just scroll down to the table of contents. Okay, I'm going to make it a little bit larger so that it's legible, so we can read it. Okay, and it is an active PDF file. So you see as I'm taking my hand here down here in my mouse, I click on the ready or not, and then that takes me to the beginning of the chapter. You see right here again, when it does that, you lose your magnification. Okay, so you gotta go through this. Okay, so you can use the hand like so to scroll. The arrow does not work over here, so you don't get the scroll bar on the right, just to let you know. Or you can just use your downward arrow on your computer like here, which is what I'm doing. So I'm taking my finger out there and pop, pop, pop. Okay, alrighty. So so let's look at the United States of America and economic preparation for America. Okay, and so basically it's assessing, as indicated, the feasibility right here for Americans to retire in a quality of life that they had hoped for. Okay, and that's what it's all about. And so what they're doing, they look at the adequacy of Social Security. Okay, the opportunity to invest in your retirement. And there's 2 different profiles that are talked about here, 2 different tools. Okay, we have this employer-provided public pension. Okay, very rare, but places like my buddy that worked for United Parcel Service (UPS), they have a pension system. Okay, and this is what's nice about pensions is that it's a guaranteed stream of income. It doesn't waft in the wind the way an investment in, say, the stock market, mutual funds does. Okay, so this is just a guarantee. Okay, we'll talk later on, and they refer to another thing that you can, if you don't have something like that, there's a program where you can take your money. If you're risk aversive, and you give it to an insurance company, and they'll invest your money for it, and then for you, they may make 5 times the amount of money that you invested. Okay, but they would then guarantee this monthly income, and it's always done in their benefit. Okay, so this insurance policy is called an annuity, and so we have our own insurance policy. It's called Social Security insurance. Okay, and so as long as you pay into the system, and we're going to go over this in subsequent weeks, then you have a guaranteed stream of income. It's not. It's supposed to be there to keep your head above water. It's not supposed to replace your income. But for a lot of people that are on the lower socioeconomic side of our societies, this is their only source of retirement income, and so they live at the poverty line. Okay, all right. So, and we're going to go over about the maximums. You can begin drawing Social Security at age 62, but you pay a significant penalty. The traditional retirement age now is 66.667 years. Okay, and we're going to go over what that is, and then And then you get a 30% bump in income if you wait till you're 72. And for every month bounce above 66.667, they give you a little bump. It's all kind of um, calibrated. All right, cool. So, anyways, so who else gets a public pension? Anybody that works for city governments, anybody who works for state governments, local municipalities, the federal government. So they all have this guaranteed stream of income. Okay, if you work for the University of California system, all right, that is a state system, right? Unlike us, okay, and so they actually have a pension system. Okay, um, teachers have their own pension system. So it kind of goes on and on. There's a lot of firemen, police officers. All right, and then I work for a private enterprise, a private company, University of Southern California. There's no pension. Okay, some private companies, like I said, still do have pensions, like UPS and Bank of America. I think still has one. Um, and then the alternative is to invest your money. So you take a portion of your earned income, so the portion of money that I got this month, I throw into um, a retirement tool. Okay, and so it's called a 401k. That's what or 40, actually, since I'm a not-for-profit, believe it or not, that's what USC is. It's called a 403b. It's the same, it comes under the same, has the same guidelines and rules. Okay, and so I put that money in, and it doesn't get taxed. Okay, so we'll talk about that later. And then it grows as my financial investment. And then when I take it out later on, when I do retire, then for every time I take out a dollar, then that dollar will get taxed. Okay, and the assumption is I'm not going to be taking out as much money as I get older, so therefore it doesn't get taxed as highly. Okay, so it's like having when I'm 85, if I pull out $100,000, that would be for a year. That would be my equivalent to a salary that I received of $100,000, and I would be taxed for that 100,000. Okay, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the way that works. Obviously, I make more money than that right now, so my tax bracket is higher. So why not defer it to when I'm older and I can't do anything? Okay, and it'll come out at a lower tax rate. All right, cool. All right, so then, so I have they call it a private pension. Okay, it's actually not accurate. I would say a defined contribution is more, and we're going to talk about IRAs, individual retirement accounts. We're going to talk about the 401k and the 401(b)s like I have. We're going to do that in subsequent weeks. Talk too much. We also then have personal savings. Okay, so money that I stash away underneath my mattress, that's personal savings. Personal savings also is what I have currently in my Bank of America account that is completely liquid. I can easily access at any moment in time. Um, um, in some ways, this is my personal savings. Okay, so I have Social Security, I have my retirement savings in these retirement accounts. Okay, and then I have all the value of this house that I could pull out at any point in time in a home equity line of credit. All right. So it's important for all of us to kind of understand the value of all of these different financial economic components of my retirement. Okay, and then we're going to find out, why is it that some people retire and some people don't in this article? So what are the motivators? What are the limitations that are out there? Again, we're looking across all of American society. All right, so you guys are the top 10th percentile, the top 5th percentile. There's a lot of people at the bottom 20th percentile that don't have the knowledge and understanding nor the tools to do this. Okay, all right. So and that's a factor that's going to affect their security. Okay, all right. And then a lot of you guys are going to become out there and make a great living doing financial planning. Okay, and financial planning is not only, hey, I know the really great bundles of stocks and bonds annuities. Those are, remember, those secure insurance programs for you to invest in. But also, we're going to do a budget, okay, and figure out how to spend, how you should spend. All right. So that's what this is all about. Okay. Very cool. All right. So I'm going to scroll down here. All right, and we're going to kind of look at it. And so, as a country, as an individual, are you ready or are you not to begin the golden years of retirement? Okay, are you financially set? Okay, and so, like I said, the key elements, we have Social Security. All right, that's a backup plan. I've paid into it my whole life, so it's great that I'm going to get it. Okay, we have they're bundling pensions. Okay, so there's a guaranteed government pension or pension plans by companies, and then there's the defined contributions. Like I said, I've talked about where I defined how much I'm going to contribute from my existing salary. All right. A lot of you guys maybe have your own business, all right? So then you're going to be doing what are called individual retirement accounts, all right? And then the private savings part, like I said, so my bank accounts and then my real estate portfolio. Luckily, sadly, this is the only one I have. And again, depending on your amount of risk, the wealthiest people in all of California, the people that have taken that risk and invested in real estate. Okay. Alrighty. So for when we look at, we're going to look at income needs. Okay, as you retire. All right, and we're going to see that like I said, as for every year I get older, there's a tendency for my income needs to drop in retirement. Okay, so like I said, I'm anticipating a lower tax rate. Okay. Because I'm not going to spend as much money, so I'm going to be in a lower tax bracket. So I'm in like the 35th percentile, I'll say right now. So for all the money that I bring in, 35% of it is gone, all right, into income tax and both federal and state. Okay. When I'm much older, then I will be at a much lower tax bracket. All right. So it's going to give me more money. Okay. Um, Certain costs are going to diminish. For example, the cost of having to purchase a car. But maybe I won't buy as many cars because I'm not going to put as many miles on it driving to work. I work 70 miles from work. Okay. If I was, if I didn't have an electric car, which I do, I have a Ford Mach-E. But if I had gas, it would be a huge drain right now. Okay. And then if you stop driving to work, then you eliminate those costs. Okay. I can, when I retire, I can run around in the same old pair of shorts, okay? All these different things, okay? Obviously, as you get older, your kids launch, okay? And so children become less and less of an expense, okay? Sorry about that, I'm gonna get out of there. And, all right, that was just me being silly. What is going on here? Oh, okay, sorry. Whoa! Again, sorry. There, okay. I didn't mean for that to happen either. Okay, all right. And so generally speaking, as a financial planner, you're gonna tell people to be shooting for whatever, because you always adjust your lifestyle to your income, okay? So whatever my income is during, say, my last 5 years while I'm working, then I need to make this projection that I will, when I look at all the money that I have coming in, okay, through these 3 different components that we're talking about over here, okay, savings, Social Security, and my retirement income through my defined contribution, my 401k. And I'm projecting based on my healthy living, okay, based on the fact that I'm at a higher socioeconomic, and based on my genetics. I look at my mom and how long she lived. So I'm projecting that I'm probably going to live to at least 95 years of age. Okay, so I got to look at how much money I brought in. Okay, and say to myself, if I'm spending, say, 75% of what I'm bringing in, okay, during that average of my last 5 years of working, okay? So I need to have 75% of that for each of the subsequent years. That's just a projection, okay? And it will go down. It will go down as you get older, okay? Awesome. So that's all what that's all about. Okay, all right, so, and let's go on to the next page here. Okay, cool. Again, this is the health and retirement study. So that was HRS is here, okay? And so they get into these concepts right here, okay, that I've been bringing up. So adequacy. So have I saved enough money? So this is, you guys are going to be financial planners. A lot of you are business majors, okay? And so this is the key question, and so you have to convince your clients that you have mastered this concept of determining adequacy, okay? And you're going to, be their consult and make them feel happy, make them feel comfortable, and then you get your fee for these services, okay? That's how it works right now. All right, like I said, they looked at a couple different cohorts, and then what they transitioned these cohorts to their at retirement age based on when the study was produced, and it was 2016. We see right here. Okay, all righty. So we look right here, and it says the median. So again, we can line up 100 people, and that person right in the middle. Let's say 101. That person right in the middle, number 50. Okay. Um, poorest people on the one side, all the way to the richest people, wealthiest people on the other side. We look at the median. Okay. And look at that household, and based on in 2060 and those different components, okay, that we've talked about: housing, and savings, retirement investment through a retirement account, like I said, either a pension or my 401k or your individual retirement account, um, and Social Security and housing, all of those three. So they're right in the middle. People, in the United States, people were pretty close to about $1 million this year, $945,000. Okay, so you see, it's pension, Social Security, housing, and every aspect of wealth that you have. Okay, that's how much you saved up at that moment in time. Okay, all right. So then we look over here, okay, and it says that if we now project in growth, okay, then in looking at the retirement by age 62, that it had gone up a little bit. Okay, all right, cool. So when we look and we categorize, maintaining their wealth, okay, maintaining their spending approaches that they had at age 62, okay. Based on these amounts, and you just do an algorithm, okay. 16% of the population, and this is a survey. We're going to show you the survey that they put forth, okay, in this study. It's the kind of survey that you'll do when you're working too. Needed more, okay, in terms of saving for retirement. All right. And 30% said they were okay, and 40% said they needed to save at least an additional 20% annually. All right, so it's just kind of going through, how people in these cohorts set up. So you would be able to reflect back on it, and say, look, there's people that have preceded you here, and based on their spending habits and how much they saved, 50% of the people are like, God, yeah, I wish I had done better. This is the kind of stuff that you would be training them on. Okay. All right. So, and again, that's what they're kind of going. They're going through the different numbers in different households here, and categorizing. How well people did. Did they hit their mark? Now, this is, again, what they did in this study for the survey, and it's the consumption and activities mail survey. Okay, so they sent out this mailer to all, and these are thousands and thousands of people, and they said, okay, so now you're retired. Okay, let's categorize your spending. Let's within these categories create a budget, and within the budget that we're going to compare that now to the amount of money you have set aside annually, and Do they meet? Do you have more money? All right, so you're good. Do you have less money? You're down here, or you're bad. If you do have more money, that's your margin for error, so that if you take a hit, which you can do, all right, the stock market can drop, you can have some pretty significant health problems, and then you got to find out, within this budget, where you're going to be able to make cuts. Okay, so you have these household related expenses. All right, are you still paying a mortgage? All right, are you still paying off the house? You don't own it straight up. You're always going to have to pay property taxes. How well are you doing that? If you're renting, these are all the different rent components. My utilities, my home repairs, my furnishings, all these different things right here. Okay, food, right? So it's your daily food here, but it's also going out to eating expenses. This is the big one right here. Okay, because it's so unpredictable. All right, this is the health expenses. Okay, and this includes what are called out of pocket. Okay. These are the parts that the insurance company doesn't cover, and they can grow. Okay, and that's because even though you have health insurance, for example, today, okay, I went to the physical therapist for my shoulder. Feels great, by the way. Physical therapy is the bomb. Okay, and the charge for this physical therapy visit was hundreds of dollars. And my insurance company covered most of it, but I had to give them my credit card and pay $30. That was my out-of-pocket expense. For me, it was not a big deal. For somebody that's lower income, it's a huge deal. Okay, when you go, today, I also picked up some Zolpidem. I have trouble sleeping. Okay, the cost, the insurance covered, 90% of it, 95% of it, but I still had to pay $5. All right, that's my out-of-pocket expense, and that's not going to go away. The more problems you have, the more drugs you have, the more PT you have, the more surgeries you have. Insurance is going to cover a percentage, but there's always going to be that other part that is an out-of-pocket expense. Okay, there's also an insurance premium. Okay, we'll talk about that later, that you're going to have to pay. All right, cool. So it's a biggie, right? Transportation. Maybe my car payments will go down. Maybe I won't need a car. Okay, or maybe they'll go up. Maybe I'm gonna, get myself, a brand new Tesla. Okay, maybe I'm gonna start flying more. All right, so clothing expenses, entertainment. That's what I was talking about there. Taking trips, vacations, blah 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 blah, and just the additional other expenses that people might have. Okay, so that's the budget that you put together. All right. So again, what you're going to do here, and rather than read through this, I guess what you guys do is kind of, this is a little bit of reading, but they compare their different cohorts. Okay, and they come down here and they're looking at, again, these, they're grouping different components of households, and a big chunk of people had insufficient funds. Okay. To remain just barely above the poverty level, and that's something to think about, And we're going to talk about adequacy of Social Security for these people that are less fortunate in your discussion. Okay, right here. Okay, again, this is this out-of-pocket medical expense. Okay, and there are different retirees have different risk with this. Okay, and they kind of go through the numbers on that. Okay, all right. All right, so this goes through the composition of wealth. Okay, and it looks at different segments of American society, and that's what this is all about right here. Okay, and so they're looking at Social Security. Okay, and this defined benefit pension wealth represent 35% of the average or the mean value of average household wealth. Okay, home equity. Again, this was looking across all of America. Here in California, I have a ton of wealth that exists in the equity of my home. Equity is just determined by the market. Market says, even though I bought this house in '98 for $400,000, the market says this house is now worth $2.5 million. That's equity. That's money that if I were to sell the house, I could take and use. Of course, I couldn't live here. I would have to move somewhere else where the housing is much cheaper. All right, cool. Awesome. All right. And then, they come down here and they start bracketing it into, different age groups and older households, okay? And and we look at the wealth, okay, of these individual households. And you see that, the median, again, if we're looking at 100 people, we'll look at the person right in the middle, because when you look at the mean, it's very skewed. The really poor households are really poor, and the really wealthy households are really well. Like Rick Caruso, who was our former head of our trustees at SE and is now running for the mayor. So he did exactly what I said. He took a lot of risk, investment in real estate. He's a billionaire. Okay, I'm not a billionaire. Okay, all right. So he's going to skew the mean. But when we look at the median, okay, 2016 for single people, their wealth at that moment was not that much. Okay, $157,000. Okay, for singles, 280,000 for widows. And here's the zinger. Okay, if you're married, you have much more wealth. Okay, your assets grow together, and that's why that happens. All right. All righty. Okay. We see that people spend their income. Again, this is looking across all of America, okay? Um, we see that 46% of this older population they were talking about here died with less than $11,000 in assets, That's not gonna be my case, that's not gonna be Rick Caruso's case, but that's gonna be a case of a lot of people that are on the other end of the spectrum, okay? All righty. So this right here talks about Social Security. We're going to get into that more. With respect to, they do discuss a little bit of the sex-based inequity that is out there, whether you're female or male, okay, and how things have changed. Again, these are the two cohorts that they studied that went into retirement. So they followed them all the way up to 2016. This is cohort 1 and cohort 2, okay. They're looking at this age group here, and then they're following them out when they go into retirement. So at this age group right here, you see that the percent of male versus females in the workforce, okay, and go look at 1992 to 2004, okay, in that age group right there, okay, we see 73% to 75, so it's been relatively constant, okay, a drop off in male and an increase in female, okay. That includes part-time, full-time. If we hone it down and look at people that are working full-time, okay, in this cohort, and you see that there's a jump for women, 52 to 58, and this little decline for men, okay? Now, this right here shows you the inequity, because so much time is spent by women in terms of getting their work being, raising children. There's an inequity in that, and so they're less likely to have higher paying jobs, and less likely to be in the workforce as long. And so you see this difference in terms of Social Security income right here. We see males went from annual of 45 to annual of 55, and females went from 16 to 26 here, again, for this cohort. We're going to see that these numbers are going to change radically as we get into 2022. Sorry, I'm trying not to sneeze right now. It's tough though. Okay, I'm going to go back here. I'm just going to show you that when we go into this next chapter, we'll be talking about this. Okay, and we'll be talking about, like I said, the investment strategies. But we're also going to look at the current situation in terms of Social Security benefits. Okay, again, we talk about here about age of retirement. And we're looking here in terms of the maximum amount that you can retire at here. We see that there's this incentive, like I said, if I work till 70 years of age, and so it's not a big jump, but it's about this much per year. Okay, boom. All right. So that's where we're at right there. And again, this kind of I go over it right here. In terms of contributions for your 401ks and things like that. But anyways, I just wanted to kind of highlight that and show that to you guys. So I'm going to go back here, and then we're going to come back to our week that we're in right now. All right. Nope, not that one. Hang in there, guys. It's like me being up in the lecture hall and going to the wrong PowerPoint slide. Here it is. Okay. All right, cool. I'm gonna go back to my PDF file now where we were working from and check this stuff out. All right, cool. All right, awesome. So we have this gender inequity, okay? So they talk about this, it's gender differences in retirement preparation right here, okay? And what are the driving forces, and you kind of go through that, okay? Um, they talk here, about, we're going to talk about the different types of savings approaches. Again, these are studies, so this is just a way of being able to project and look at the different segments of society in terms of their overall investments and wealth accumulation, okay? And these are the tools, the toolkits that we have. So we have, individual stocks, we have bonds, okay? Those are bundled into retirement accounts. So, so I have mutual funds, index funds that are large bundles of both stocks and bonds. These are very low earning but more secure certificate of deposits. It's and that's part of the secure investment strategy to talk about. Treasury bills, okay, and then the retirement accounts. We're going to go over all that later, okay? All right, so they talk right here about, finally they get into and they help defining this change in this pension landscape. So like I was talking about, all government employees, and there's a whole variety of government employees, City of Laguna Niguel employees, and park rangers, so there's, you think about it, there's a lot of people that are paid by government, okay, and so they have this defined benefit. So it just means, once they retire, until the day they die, they're going to get this defined amount on a monthly basis. Difference is, okay, when they do die, there's nothing left behind, okay, for their family members, okay, so they're beneficiaries, okay. Um, when you're married, there is a separate equation for that, for the survivor, okay, depending on the pension plan that is out there, okay. The other one they're talking about is we've made this shift from this guaranteed, because what happens is these companies, it used to be, I'm going to lure you to go work for me, back in the day, say General Electric, and we're going to lure you with this guaranteed pension, because they figured, okay, you work for us for 20 years, okay, you retire at 60, and hopefully you're dead by 70. Big deal, okay? But guess what happened, okay? Medicine came in, people exercise more, people change their habits, they eat better. Next, life expectancy just, people are living to 90 routinely. That's a bad economic plan for a corporation. So they have, company after company after company said, you know what? No more pensions, and what we're going to do now is we're going to encourage you to take the money that we give you in your monthly payroll, okay, to take a subset and do this, what's called right here, this defined contribution plan. It's called a DC plan, okay. And so that's what I do every month. I've done it, for the 30 plus years I've worked at USC. I always put money into my defined contribution plan, and it's invested into a portfolio that has stocks and bonds, okay, even a little money market, because it's more secure, okay, very little, okay, it depends on your risk, okay, and yeah, it sits there, and I didn't pay any taxes on that money when I put it in, and it's grown, and I don't pay any taxes on how much it's grown. I will only pay taxes on what I take out when I retire. Right? So this is the future, okay? And actually, the future, it is the present. That's what companies do, okay? So why do we save? Well, we save if we can, and that's the whole point right here. We save if you can. If you have the tool sets, if you are the financial stability, so I can afford to take, basically 5% of my 9-month income, okay, and I can take that money and put it in. somewhere else, okay? Now, a cool thing about working for a big company like USC is they have what's called matching funds, all right? So that's an incentive they have to bring you in and work for their corporation. So I put, say I make $200,000, okay? I put 5% of that, okay, into my retirement account every year. All right, so that's $10,000 right there. I put away and I don't look at it. USC matches it 2-to-1. All right. During the pandemic, they had to reduce that. Okay, but 2-to-1 is the matching fund. So for every 10,000 I put in every year, USC puts an additional 20,000. That goes in every year, $30,000. I invest it with a little risk. I make about 8% annually, and then it just gets rolled over and compounds. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. That's going to be CT2 for you guys, okay? All right, so why do I save? Okay, I am saving because I don't want to have to work to the bitter end. You know, I'm not hand to mouth, okay? That's an old saying. So I make enough money, okay, that I have the luxury of being able to put money elsewhere, okay, and don't have to worry about things. So, and my plan is I don't want to have to work forever. My plan, I am going to work till I'm 72, okay, and that's because your co-instructor Julia is 7 years younger than me, all right. If I were to retire right now, which I could, okay, I'm 65, I could retire. But then I would have to go on Medicare, and she is too young to go on Medicare, so she would have to go find her own health insurance program. It's much easier, you know, because USC helps me pay for my health insurance right now. That's another benefit of working for a big company. I pay part of my income. USC pays for part of my health insurance and my family's health insurance. So I'm waiting till she turns 65, and then when she gets Medicare, then the cost of Medicare is far lower, okay? All right, so these are my kind of reasons. I'm saving because I want to have fun later on in life, okay? But also there is this concept of medical costs, okay? This can be in your discussion where they go up and up and up as you go older, which means my out-of-pocket maximum costs or my out-of-pocket medical costs are going to go up and up and up and up. And I don't want to go bankrupt on that. In fact, I'm not going to do it this time, but I'll show you something that Julia did in terms of talking about the Affordable Care Act and how that helped to limit the out-of-pocket medical expenses. It was a game changer for anybody that has any kind of health problems, okay? So this goes through this concept of out-of-pocket medical expenses right here. And I'll show what I'm talking about in terms of looking at the impact as a function of age, okay? So it's very, very key to be financially literate and begin to start your planning. And that's, you know, basically what I've been telling you guys about right now, okay? Alrighty, I'm getting some text messages right here, okay? And this is just a simple test about financial literacy that you could do, you know, looking at, you know, how interest works and how much you would save and how inflation affects the income that your client has. So this is something that you would do, you know, B majors, okay? You're gonna have this kind of financial sophistication model that you'll evaluate your client, and then that helps them in terms of their decision making in terms of what kind of financial planning they're going to be doing. All right. Different personalities are much more likely to, this is kind of a funny set of paragraph and who invests and who doesn't. Again, employer incentives are huge. All right, so you guys, now I'm educating you on this. You know, when you're out there looking for a job, somebody may offer you a slightly more salary, but they don't offer you a defined contribution pension plan. You know, you got to weigh that. You got to think about that when you're making your job decision. You know, Julia has worked for a giant law firm, giant private corporation, and now USC. Every step of the way, they had, you know, this really cool defined contribution plans. When she quit those jobs, those defined contribution plans continued to grow. And so she has 4 different sources of income growth that are sitting out there waiting for her to retire, okay? So Think about this, okay? All righty. So now, real quickly, I always say really quickly and then I don't, okay? I think this is important you guys become financially literate. That's why I'm spending some time here, okay? We're looking at, across the board in our country based on their cohorts of studies. And they went from 1992 all the way to 2014. And, sadly, the number of people, the percentage of people in our country that are saving for retirement through these toolkits that you can just invest, make a high percentage of income in the stock markets and bonds and things like that, and know that's waiting for you is pretty limited, okay? Because a lot of people are hand to mouth. Hand to mouth meaning I'm gonna take in the money that I earned this month, and by the end of the month, I've spent it all, and I'm just, next month, I got to get my money and I spend it all, and it's very, very on the edge. Sadly, there's a big chunk of our country that is like that, okay? So they could hardly afford to invest, okay? So we're looking at right here that it's been constant from 1992 to 2014 in this paper, okay? We're roughly between 30 and 35% of the population has done some form of investment, all right? It's kind of pathetic, okay? It's kind of sad, and that's why, we see so many poor people, and we see poor older people, which is the scary part, okay? Because they're very, very vulnerable. All righty. This is the defined benefit that police officers get, that government workers get, that I'm talking about, and you see, boom, 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 boom. It's just gone down, 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 and it's continued to go down right here to roughly between 5 and 10% of the population. So it's a disappearing act, okay? And then you see the growth right here, and this is what I do. I take where you take your earned income and you contribute it into this retirement account, okay? You can do it in a corporation, like I am. You can do it individually, and it's called an individual retirement account. We're going to learn, so both my boys, okay, had some earned income, okay, from the jobs they had, and they took that money and they set up their own, what are called IRAs, individual retirement accounts. There's a special one for people that don't make a lot of money. It's called a Roth IRA, and it's awesome, okay? And because you can earn a chunk of money, pay next to no taxes on it before you put it in because you're not making anything, but then it grows and grows and grows, and then when you pull it out when you're 70, you don't pay any taxes, okay? Awesome. Something to think about, right? So that's the kind of landscape that we have right here. It's just kind of sad, okay? It is what it is, okay? All righty, this goes through spending patterns, where the money goes. Remember the spreadsheet, okay? They talk about the CAMS. That was that spreadsheet of household expenses, and to make sure you make the prediction that's going to go on, okay? All right, so this is looking at the total income, okay, of single and coupled households, okay, by age, okay. This was in that one cohort that they were looking at, okay. So I know it's a long time ago, but they were just looking at it, okay. And you can see that there is this, and we see what we're coding for, couples and singles, and you see that being a couple means a lot more wealth, okay? Single people have less wealth in these age groups, okay? Again, this is on average, and it's kind of mind-blowing when you look at these average amounts, okay? All right, so that's income, how much you're bringing in working, okay? This is your total wealth, okay? So this is looking at all the different assets that we talked about, okay? So how much money you do have invested in the stock market, how much money you have in your home equity, okay? How much money you have coming in through, projected coming in through Social Security, all right? All right, so we look at all this right here, and again, single versus married, okay? So this is the total income that we see right here, again, on average. And in housing is a big part of it, and that's what they're talking about right there, okay? And then this is the spending, okay? So you have much larger income, and proportionally, you don't have that much more spending for people that are couples versus singles. So the spending habits are much more of a burden compared to the amount of wealth, and that's what they're showing there. Awesome. Okay. Very cool. So that's basically what that's all about. Okay. I hope I helped you to understand that a little bit better. Go ahead and sift through it. Okay. And then that will help you in terms of the discussion. It's help you in terms of life. You guys are B majors, a lot of you, and it's something to think about. Okay. So a big part of my discussion was talking about these unexpected out-of-pocket expenses, and that's what this article is about right here. Again, this is comparing a 2013 to a 2030 cohort, okay? We throw this right in here, and it's an example figure, and they break things down for those of you that are interested to kind of look at it. Just kind of sift through it and check out the figures. It's kind of like shock and awe, okay? So this is looking right here at Medicare beneficiaries, okay? All right. Your health insurance is Medicare, and there's lots of different types of Medicare, okay? And based on the different types of Medicare that you're paying for, and yes, you do have to pay for your Medicare insurance. Small amount compared to the insurance that I pay for right now. There's going to be more out-of-pocket expenses, okay? So if you pay more for your insurance, it's going to be better off. You pay less for insurance, then you're going to probably have more out-of-pocket expenses, okay? And we look at the average out-of-pocket healthcare spending as a share of my annual Social Security income, all right? And you see that it's enormous right here, okay? So we see that on average, if I just had Social Security, 41% of my income in 2013 was being sent directly to healthcare costs. I now have, not that much left now to use to spend on rent and food, okay? And we can see that projection is going to go up right here if that was my only source of income. Lucky it isn't for me, okay? All right, these videos they're really well done. I wish there were new ones. There aren't. The same rules abide by what they talk about here about Social Security, okay? So what we really want you guys to talk about is the adequacy of Social Security in your discussion, and then reflect backward on the shock and awe kind of scary aspect of these unexpected out-of-pocket expenses, okay? And again, we want you to answer this concept of adequacy, all right? I'm going to show you a little bit more here if you were to dive deeper into this right here. And this is this Kaiser Family Foundation article done in 2018, okay? And sure, I'll accept my cookies, all right? If you give a mouse a cookie. A mouse a cookie. All right, here we go. Do you guys remember that book? Okay, so this is how they did their calculation. So it's a study. We have the RAND Corporation, Kaiser Family Foundation, a lot of different social study analysis groups, okay? So again, looking at 2013, the average per capita Social Security benefit in 2013 is mind-blowing right here. Again, not a lot of people don't work systematically and routinely. $13,000 a year. Yikes, okay? All right, and we see that again, 41%, that's the number that pops out, being 41% of their income is going towards paying for medical bills, okay? They kind of, jump around through here. I just want to get into a couple different examples here. So here's that 41%, okay? But you see right here, as you get older, a bigger percentage. So this is everything, okay? All people that have taken on Social Security, all right? There are some Social Security beneficiaries that are under the age of 65 for whatever reason that is, okay? They have had to draw onto it earlier, and they are able to, okay, because of financial problems, okay? We see as a function of age, though, the percentage of your Social Security benefit that would have to cover Medicare goes up astronomically because sadly, these progressive chronic diseases of aging, non-communicable heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's disease, they're going to go up and they cost, okay? That's what that's shown right there, okay? We can compare men versus women. Women, you can see here in the older years, do much more poorly, okay, in terms of how much of the expense goes on. Again, this is comparing all, what's going on here is there's a lot of widows, okay? In terms of the age of over 85, there's a lot more women, a lot more widows, and they lose income, and so they're a lot more dependent on Social Security. We can look at as a function of health status, okay? If you have excellent health, then you're gonna have less out of pocket, all right? How can we categorize this, okay? Like an activity of daily living, okay? So can I walk up and down the stairs? Can I do my own laundry? All these different things that you do just to survive, okay? I have no functional impairment in terms of my activity of daily living right now, okay? So I'm gonna have less income going out to help me, more income going out to help me. I'm going to have more health problems. So this is how you kind of read through this, and they just kind of you look at this and you kind of look at it and you say, whoa, so we look in here that we're comparing the changes in every step of the way in terms of these out-of-pocket expenses as a function of age. It's going to go up and up and up, for the upcoming decade of 2030. Okay. All right. So that's how you read through that, guys. Again, you just reflect back over here in your discussion about what it all means. All right, very cool. Sorry for the delay on this. Yeah, it is what it is. And so next week we're going to train you more intensively into how to be a financial planner. We're going to talk about these strategies of IRAs, Roth IRAs, 401k, 403bs. We're going to talk about annuities, okay? And we're going to make you financially literate, and then it's going to become very, very relevant to you when you think about these toolkits that you have, and because it's going to be very useful for you in terms of doing your CT assignment. Because what are we going to do for CT2? Let's check it out. CT2 is right here. You're a financial planner, okay? And you're going to be your goal is you're going to invest in an IRA. You're going to talk about IRA and Roth IRAs, and then you're going to invest in a 401k, and you're going to see what happens there in terms of, here's your little calculator you're going to use. It's so much fun. You guys are going to trip out on that. Okay, cool. Alrighty, guys. I'm going to say peace, and we'll see you next time.